Welcome to Pine Ridge Ranch. My name is Bill Travis, and I'm the owner of the ranch. Jane and I have owned this ranch since 1972. We've been raising Cimbra and Simmental cattle since 1979. We're going to take you on a brief tour of our ranch and our operations and show you the type of cattle we're trying to raise. We are in the 24th year of a 40-year program, but we've really made a lot of progress toward these cattle, and we want to show you the cattle, and I think you'll like them too. In 1981, my wife and I sat down after raising cattle for numerous years, and a lot of cattle for numerous years. And we said, as long as we're raising cattle, let's raise the best hot weather animal that you can raise. And we sat down and wrote a specification, and there were over 25 items in that specification. And we've been breeding those specifications since 1981. But to breed a specification, you have to have knowledge. You have to know what your cattle do, how they kill, how they grow, and we measure. We've been slaughtering our steers for 18 years. We use GeneStar on all of our donor cows. We use GeneStar on all of our herd sires. We ultrasound every single yearling, twice a year. As any of our cattle grow up into both bulls and heifers, grow to be the yearling stage, we ultrasound them to understand their back fat and their marbling. But we're also doing one new thing at the farm. We are probably the only place in the United States that has a net feed intake system. Our son's an electrical engineer, and we have a system to measure the growth and the feed conversion of all of our bulls. And what we are doing is growing these bulls out, feeding them, measuring their feed consumption, and then measuring their changing of the meat, of the feed and the meat. And so we're looking for a very efficient bloodlines that can convert very well. The U.S. industry is spending about $9.5 billion a year on feedlot cattle. And if the United States industry will develop an animal that is more efficient, that can gain 1 pound of meat for, say, 5.8 pounds of grain, it would save the industry perhaps $1.5 billion a year in production cost, which should go both to the farmer and also to the packers and to the feeders. So man must measure, and we've been measuring. One of the things you might do is take a look at some of our specifications that we think are important. In our specifications, we took every item that we thought was a significant factor in raising cattle efficiently. A good point is very minor, but poll cattle. If we can raise poll cattle that are the same quality that horn cattle are, it's probably worth $5 to $15 to have a poll cow. You don't have to cut them, and they don't go through the trauma of running through the pens and the trauma of having a sore head for a while. So one minor point would be, if we can raise poll cattle, we're going to do so. We still use horned bulls, and the reason we're in a 40-year development program. It's going to take us 40 years to develop this animal. We're 24 years into the system since 1981, but we've made a lot of progress with the cattle. We think that cattle need to be pretty moderate, but we want them to carry a lot of meat, and so they're going to be long. We think that we have very long cattle, and we think that there are a lot of spring in the rib. The best meats are across the back and down the rump. And what we're trying to do is raise a moderate, long, high spring of rib animal. If you look at our cattle, the backs on our cattle are very strong. We have no rafter hipping, and our tail sets are long. We don't have short tail sets. And we think that smooth, muscular, strong back can carry lots and lots of red meat. Another issue we're doing is we want to raise an animal that has a moderate head, smaller head, and a moderate bone. We do not want big bone cattle. When we slaughter these cattle, last kill we had was 64.8% red meat. And if you can get 3% more red meat out of your harvest, That's maybe 40 pounds of red meat that might be worth another $60 to $100 a head. So that's another efficiency factor in raising cattle. We're looking at the proportion of the cattle. We want these cattle are not mountain cattle or hill cattle. That basically they are cattle that are being raised in hot areas of the world, from North Texas and Oklahoma, even up into Kansas, and all the way to Africa, and all the way to Argentina, and even in Australia. So what we want is a hot weather animal, but these animals need to walk. And our studies of the cattle is that we need to have a proportion in the cattle of where from the back to the chest wall and the chest wall to the ground should be a ratio of about 55-45. And that ratio in a long cow pretty well ensures a pretty good striding animal. Another factor we want a deep twist, which is the pelvic area of the animals. We want the flank to be as deep as the chest wall. And so there's a lot of meat in that area, and we don't want shallow gutted cows. So what we're trying to do is put a wonderful structure that can carry lots of meat on it. Another item we're trying to breed for is we want very clean sheaths on these cattle, but we want neck leather. These cattle are part Brahman and they're part Simmental. And what we're trying to do is have heat-tolerant cattle. And to get heat-tolerant cattle, the studies are showing that the Brahman have a different sweat gland. And we do want neck leather on these cattle, but we want absolutely no navel leather. So we've been checking through DNA and through harvesting our cattle to try to get them to be a consumer animal. Then we want a feedlot animal, and the feedlot animal is going to be a larger animal. It's going to be a 1,350, 1,450 pound steer that meets those consumers' needs. And these cattle are going to be slaughtered at an early age. They're going to be 14 to 15 months of age when they get slaughtered. Then we need an animal for the feeder. And the feeder, they need fast growth, but the feeder people like cattle to stay in a while. And if you can feed these cattle 6 months and put 600-700 pounds on them, get them up to 1,350, 1,400 pounds without adding too much back fat and without it taking them yield grade 2 and 3 and 4. That's what you're trying to do. So we think we have an animal that is designed to meet the feeder's needs. But we've left out one important component, and that is the rancher. What does the rancher need? One major factor for a rancher is productivity. We need to put out a lot of pounds of meat on these cows. And one of the best ways to do it is to have them very, very fertile. And so our goal is to have every Cimbra animal calve at 2 years of age. And we actually even start breeding the cattle at 13.5 months, where they breed at 22 to 24 months of age. The cattle are plenty big to do that, and they will, the earlier you breed them, the generalization is the quicker they'll breed back. And so we want to get them into production as quickly as we can. The next issue is, how long is that cow going to live? Cimbra cattle are really long-lived cattle. The Brahman is probably by far the longest lived animal that there is. And combining them with the Simmental, we're able to keep our cows 10, 12, 15 years. Another issue is that we're able to use our bulls longer than most bulls are used. We have used a number of times bulls till they were 10 and one till they were 12 years of age, and there's very, very few breeds that can match that performance. So what you're trying to do is have a calf quickly and then have them breed back quickly, and we've been able to do that quite well. Another issue is the milk. We have got decent milk in our cattle. We can gain about 85, 90 pounds a month from the milk of our cows on our heifers, and we can gain about 95 to 100 pounds a month on our bull calves, and that is without creep feed. And so what we're trying to do is to let the cow do the work on the grass. If you creep feed, you can gain a little extra weight, get them going into the feedlot quicker, but basically we run our cattle as a commercial ranch. I would like to most sincerely thank you for listening to this program that we have. And if you folks have any interest at all, go to our website. It's www.sember.com. And if you'd like to come by for a visit, give us a call. We have a little place for you to stay and spend the night and talk about the cattle and take a look at what we're doing. But thank you again for taking a look at what we're doing.